Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started. Imagine this scenario. You're out, you're having a good time, maybe enjoying a nice glass of red wine, or perhaps a celebratory shot of tequila, or just relaxing with a beer. You feel good, conversation's flowing, everything seems fine, and then, maybe subtly at first, this tension starts behind your eyes. Pretty soon, it's not subtle at all. It's this throbbing headache, a full-blown migraine. Suddenly, that drink you were enjoying, it kind of flipped the switch from pleasure to just, pain. The kind of pain that could just shut down your whole evening, and maybe the next day too. If you've ever experienced that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, and today we're going to explore what's actually going on inside your glass, and maybe more importantly, inside your body that causes this switch. We're looking into the science behind these alcohol-induced migraines. Now, why focus on this? Well, migraines aren't just bad headaches, are they? They're serious neurological events. Millions of people deal with them. And alcohol. It pops up again and again as a major trigger. But this isn't about saying never drink again. Not at all. It's about knowledge. It's about understanding the specific things in the drinks, compounds, the effects that might be setting off these migraines. It ties into that whole idea of understanding our own bodies, making intentional choices. It's about self-awareness, not restriction, giving you the power to make informed choices. That's the goal here. Okay, so let's get into it. What are these hidden culprits potentially lurking in your drink? First up, let's talk about histamines and tannins. You find these generally in higher amounts in things like red wine, whiskey, darker liquors. They're natural compounds formed during fermentation and aging. So what do they do? Well, they can act as vasodilators. That means they make your blood vessels expand. They can also kick off inflammation in the body. And for people prone to migraines, this combination expanding blood vessels, especially around the brain, plus inflammation, well, that's a pretty common pathway to an attack. It's like they're starting a chain reaction, making your pain pathways more sensitive. What's interesting with histamine specifically, your body has an enzyme, DAO, diamine oxidase, that breaks down histamine from food and drink. If your DAO levels are kind of low, or you just consume a lot of histamine-rich stuff, it could build up. And when that happens, it binds to receptors, causes that vasodilation and inflammation we talked about. So it's not just if histamine is there, but also how well your body handles it. That's key. All right, next on the list, congeners. You hear about these with hangovers, right? But they matter for migraines too. Congeners are basically byproducts of fermentation. They give drinks their specific flavors, smells, colors. And here's the thing. Darker drinks, think rum, brandy, bourbon, some red wines, tend to have way more congeners than lighter ones like vodka or gin. Now, these congeners, things like methanol, they get processed by your liver using the same pathways as regular alcohol, ethanol. So your liver is working overtime. And when methanol breaks down, it turns into formaldehyde, then formic acid. These are frankly toxic compounds, much more so than ethanol itself. They can increase inflammation, oxidative stress, basically adding fuel to the fire, making migraine more likely if you're susceptible. So that complex flavor might come with a hidden cost, trigger-wise. Then we've got sulfites. These are preservatives. You find them often in wine, sometimes beer, to stop oxidation and bacteria. Now, for most people, no big deal. But for some sensitive folks, they can be a trigger. The faking is, for these individuals, sulfites might irritate blood vessels, start an inflammatory response, a bit like histamine. There's some scientific debate on how common this direct migraine link is, separate from allergies. But if you are sensitive, maybe because you lack enough of an enzyme called sulfite oxidase, they could build up and cause irritation, potentially enough to start a migraine. It's not everyone, but it's a real factor for some. Okay, beyond specific compounds, alcohol itself just has general effects that are major migraine contributors, one of the biggest. Dehydration, simple as that. Alcohol is a diuretic. What that means is it makes your body flush out more water than you're taking in. You lose water, you lose electrolytes. This messes with the fluid balance in your brain cells. When brain tissue loses water, it can literally shrink a tiny bit, pulling on the membranes around it. That causes pain. Plus, the electrolyte imbalance. It's a direct physiological stress that can definitely trigger a migraine. Big one. And finally, let's consider blood sugar crashes. Alcohol messes with your metabolism. It can cause your blood sugar levels to drop, sometimes pretty sharply. Your brain needs a steady supply of glucose. That's its main fuel. When alcohol causes a sudden dip hypoglycemia, your brain is essentially starved for energy. This can set off hormonal responses, destabilize neurons, and make your brain more prone to the sort of electrical changes seen in migraines. These sudden glucose drops. Yeah, they're well-known migraine triggers. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, Mike, but my friend drinks red wine like water and is fine, but one glass knocks me out. And that's a perfectly valid point. It highlights something crucial. Individual variability. It is absolutely not the same for everyone. Why the difference? Several reasons. First, genetics. Big time. Your specific genetic code influences how you process alcohol, how you react to all these compounds. Take those enzyme levels we mentioned earlier. ADH, ALDH, the enzymes breaking down alcohol and acetaldehyde. Genetic differences mean some people break down alcohol much slower as acetaldehyde builds up. That contributes to feeling rough, and maybe migraines too. Other genes might affect your histamine processing or how sensitive your inflammatory pathways are. Then there's just your individual brain chemistry. Everyone's brain is wired a bit differently. What irritates one person's trigeminal nerve might not bother another's at all. Migraines themselves involve complex stuff, like neurotransmitter balanced serotonin, dopamine, and maybe things like cortical spreading depression. How alcohol interacts with your unique brain setup is personal. And speaking of personal, hormones play a massive role, particularly for women. Migraines are way more common in women, right? And they often cluster around periods, perimenopause, times when estrogen levels are fluctuating. Estrogen affects neurotransmitters, blood vessel tone. Fluctuating levels can make the brain more susceptible to triggers, including alcohol. So that adds yet another layer of individual difference. Okay, so given all this complexity, what can you actually do? How can you lower your risk if you choose to have a drink? Let's talk practical strategies, things you can actually try. First, maybe choose lighter colored drinks. Think vodka, gin, tequila, blanco. Why? Generally, fewer congeners, maybe fewer histamines compared to darker stuff like bourbon, rum, red wine. Simple switch, potentially big impact on your exposure to certain triggers. Second, and this is just good advice, generally stay hydrated, seriously. Rule of thumb, 1 glass of water for every alcoholic drink, minimum. This fights the diuretic effect, helps keep your brain's fluid balance happier. That's your first line of defense. Third, eat something before you drink, maybe while you drink. Food, especially with some complex carbs and protein, helps stabilize your blood sugar, prevents those sharp drops we talk about. Never drink on an empty stomach. It just makes everything worse, faster. Fourth, become your own detective. Track your triggers. Keep a simple log. What did you drink? How much did you get a migraine? Also note other stuff, food, sleep, stress. Over time, patterns might emerge. Maybe it's only red wine. Maybe it's any alcohol after a poor night's sleep. This self-knowledge is incredibly empowering. It's about understanding your body, right? That's real power. And finally, maybe try to avoid super sugary cocktails, that combo of lots of sugar plus alcohol. It's a recipe for a blood sugar roller coaster. You get the sugar high, then the alcohol helps crash it even lower. Remember those glucose dips? But migraine trigger. Sugary drinks just amplify that risk. Now, beyond these strategies, there are also a couple of supportive nutrients worth knowing about. Not magic cures, but tools that might help your system cope. One is vitamin B1, specifically a form called benfotiamine. Alcohol depletes B1 thiamine. And thiamine is absolutely critical for brain energy. Your brain needs it to function properly. Low levels mean less brain energy, which can worsen headaches, fatigue, that brain fog. Benfotiamine is a form that's easier for your body to absorb. It can help support brain energy metabolism, potentially buffering some of that post-drinking drain. Another interesting one is NAC, that's N-acetylcysteine. NAC helps your body make glutathione, which is like your master antioxidant. So NAC does a couple things. It helps neutralize toxins like acetaldehyde, that nasty alcohol byproduct, and it boosts your overall antioxidant defenses, fighting oxidative stress. Since oxidative stress and inflammation are part of the migraine picture, NAC might help calm that internal storm. Again, these aren't guarantees, just supportive measures for resilience and recovery. So let's wrap this up. The main takeaway. Alcohol-induced migraines aren't just random bolts from the blue. They happen because of identifiable triggers, compounds like histamines, congeners, or physiological effects like dehydration, blood sugar swings. And the really empowering part is this. Understanding your triggers gives you control. It lets you make informed, intentional choices. Maybe you can still enjoy a drink sometimes, but on your terms, knowing how to minimize the risk of that crushing pain afterward. It's about listening to your body, using this kind of information for your own well-being. So instead of just guessing or avoiding everything, think about why certain things might affect you. Pay attention to those signals. Use the strategies. It's your health, your choices. Be informed. Until next time, stay curious. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.